Welcome to the Twister Display family. We want to thank you for purchasing one of our towable Easy Dunker dunk tanks. And we want to thank you for trusting us with your business. And together we will do whatever we need to do to help make sure you're successful with your brand new dunk tank. Now that your dunk tank has arrived, let's get started with unwrapping this, getting it ready for use. The first thing you're going to do is to inspect for damage. Let's make sure there weren't any issues with the shipment coming from the freight carrier. If there were any obvious issues, hopefully you already communicated that to the freight company. But if you didn't, now is the time to quickly go over this unit, make sure there aren't any issues. If there are, let us know right away. Send us pictures to support@twisterdisplay.com and we'll get those issues adjusted and taken care of for you immediately. And also check to make sure that you have at least one box inside the unit, which would contain your dunk tank kit. We'll look at those contents here in a minute. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to cut our straps and begin removing all the packaging material. So let's get going. So notice where we cut the material. Why? It's a great safe place to avoid cutting or marking any marks on the frame or the tank. As we get towards the end of removing the materials, again, make sure you've noticed, if you notice any blemishes or damage caused during shipment. Now that we've removed the materials, you can see that the protective cage has been attached to the front of your unit. We do that to help protect not only the tank, but also the window. So let's go ahead and remove the cage from the front of your dunk tank. We'll now set the cage out of the way so that we can get to the dunk tank kit down inside your tank. Using a stool or a small ladder, go ahead and get inside and get your dunk tank kit out of your tank. And as you climb back out of the tank, be careful not to hit your head on the seat and that you step up on the step and hold on to the handle. All right, so now let's open up our dunk tank kit. We'll verify the contents, and we're also going to get out the cage bolts that we need to attach our cage to the dunk tank. All right, so what we'll find in this kit is you'll have an information packet including your setup instructions. So you have the printed setup instructions as well as safety instructions towards the back of these. Then you can also go to our website under support. You'll find electronic versions of both setup and safety instructions. There's also additional videos on installing the light kit. There's also additional checklist and information to go over with your customers about how to make sure the dunk tank is being used safely, as well as a sample liability waiver. There's also a safety video available. Again, check out support section of twisterdisplay.com. In addition, you have a little mesh carrying bag for things like your target and balls. You will find in here there are a dozen. Balls come with the unit. They are softball size. We do also offer baseball size. You have a target that you'll screw into the dunk tank arm when you're ready to use the unit. Here are those cage bolts. So we're going to set those aside because we will need those here in a minute to attach our cage. And then down inside the box will be your canvas. By default, they come with either a solid yellow or blue, but maybe you chose a different canvas. So whatever canvas you chose would also be in this box. Then we have 5 ball bungees, which can be used to help hold the canvas from moving, inching over. Again, see the setup instructions on how to use your dunk tank for the first time, and we'll go into more detail about using those. And then we also then have our light kit that you can install, as well as the light kit extender. So that's all what should be in the box. If anything's missing, let us know right away. Now that everything has been removed, let's remove the unit from the pallet. We're simply going to tip it back and onto its wheels. And now we can remove the rest of the packaging materials as well as the pallet. Now we're going to set the tank back up on its bottom. And let's get ready to mount that protective cage. So grab the cage by 2 of those supports, and you're going to get it up in the general location here. This is a point where it would be helpful to have another person just to help as you sort of get it positioned. So using our cage bolts, we're going to start at the side by where the target and the canvas would be. We're going to take one of those bolts and we're going to drop it down through, and it will come through the ring. We're going to go ahead and place each of the bolts, moving things around if we need to a little bit as we go, and then we'll come back through and add in the hardware. So you're going to take that bolt and you're going to drop it down through the hole. Again, if we need to do any type of small shifts to align the holes, we're going to be able to do that. Continuing our way around in a clockwise direction. So now we're going to take those washers and nuts. We're going to get them started on each of our cage bolts. And when we're done, we'll tighten all 6 of these bolts and nuts together using a 7/16 deep well socket. And as you're tightening each of these bolts, just be careful to not over tighten them. You don't want to bend or break anything. You're just closing the gap between the cage and the lip of your tank. Now that the cage has been installed, let's just make sure that our removable tongue is in position, ready for you to be able to use the first time you go to tow your towable dunk tank. When you go to tow your dunk tank, you'll see that this is the orientation to insert the tongue. The tongue will go away from the bottom of your dunk tank. You simply slide the tongue into the 2 receiving receptacles, insert in the hitch pins with the safety clip. Again, 1 location and a second location. And now your unit is ready to tow using a standard 2-inch hitch ball.
Hi, my name's Jeremy, and I'm going to show you how to put on a light kit for a trailer. Okay, I'm going to show you my inventory first. What I got here. What comes in your box is everything you see here. What we normally would do is we wouldn't use these pieces. So what I do is I just stick them back in my box. You need your wiring, you need your 4 nuts, whatever you choose to use. I use the black tape, people use zip ties and other things. You need a 7/16 socket, wire strippers, and a grinder. You also have your lights, which we're going to get ready to show you how to install it. On the back of your lights, it's kind of hard to see, you have yellow, and then you got your brown. And it's pretty much self-explanatory when you're looking at it from your back side. This would be your brown, with this being your brown and your turn signals on this side. You want it to match up just like so. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then your other light as well. I usually set them in place. I always think of it green to grass side. What you want to do is you want to stretch out your wiring and always start off coming up to your frame. And you always want to give yourself a little leeway so when your frame sits up, they don't sit on this. By bracing it to our frame here. And that just leaves that little bit of leeway so this don't get pinched off. All right, now that we have it braced, what we'll do here is your white, is your ground. Splicers and your grinder comes into play. And then you'll take, I usually do about 1 inch. Make sure that you twist it up, get that real nice, good connection. But what you want to do is you want to grind a spot here on your frame so you have bare metal. Like so. And then what I do is I always touch it and make sure that it's really tight against that metal. You can use a self-tapper screw. You can use basically whatever you want that you think it's going to stick to that frame. And that's what it'll look like. So when you tug on it, it won't come off. And then what I do is I just do a little extra for my 1 extra wire. And just start running your wire through your frame on each side. And then this is for your other side. And then what I usually do is it's better to have on the inside of the frame so it don't get stepped on, it don't get accidentally yanked or pulled off by somebody. And then you just kind of work your way around, keeping it on the inside. So again, nobody steps on it, nobody gets in the way. But like I said, zip ties could be used. I've seen some customers come in and make their own little setup where they actually drill parts into the frame and then slid the wiring through this plastic tubing. Basically, you can do it however you choose to do it. I usually try and keep it tight, but regardless, it is going to loosen up over time. All right. Now, I always like to add a little extra, and just in case, if you have to change it out, or if you need a new wiring harness, or basically just doing a whole new light kit, I always add that little extra and give you a cut. You definitely don't want to do too much in these, so about 1/2 inch on each one. What you want to do is you want to slide it in through the top. And the left side is brown, right side is green. Green on the right. I usually do the very top holes on each one. And make sure they're tight. Then you just pop it in the bracket. Put on 2 nuts. Like so. Now you definitely don't want to over tighten these, because if you do, they'll snap them. And just a little snuggy snug. And there's your one side. And we'll go over to the other side and we'll do the second one. Work it on the inside of the frame all the way down. I usually try and follow both sides, so I'll look over and see where I put my last piece. And basically the same way. I always do this one section here. And then I always do that extra. Slide it in, and you have yellow, you have brown. I always do the very top holes. Okay. And again, make sure that it's tight. And again, your 2 nuts, same as normal. And sometimes these things will not spin with your finger. But again, don't over wrench it. You don't want to break it. And there you are. All right, and this is your extension. What we normally do is, since it gets plugged into here, I like to take this little piece off, put my adapter in. Sometimes you just got to give it that little wiggle wiggle. You want to make sure that it's all the way in. And then, for weather purposes, I'll end up just putting this back on and popping it on to protect your cords. And then whenever you set it, and basically what I do is when we have them waiting for customers, I'll set it around that, and you have your little extra line there. We do not tape this. This is a heads up, do not tape it, because when you go to disconnect your hitch to set up your trailer, you want to make sure that you're able to disconnect this, because you definitely don't want to leave your cord hanging down there while it's in use. And there you go. Light kit installed. Super easy, super simple.
Now that you've installed that removable tongue in the towing position and installed your light kit, now your unit is ready to tow.